USA Recycling.
No,
But it's
so you get the backup alarm, you get the, come out early.
no one else knows.
Check the other plug?
No one else
No.
understands.
Okay.
They were there, whoever it was there then.
But you seem like
Okay. All right.
Go ahead.
We are live, so we will now call the March 9th Planning Commission meeting to order. Under new business, we have on top a referral from zoning for application number 23-002, Hillside College, 732 Hall Hill Road, Summer, seeking a modification of special use permit for operation of a religious institution, amending the conditions of approval regarding recreational use, restrictions placed on events and possible additional events per section 214-9. Would you like to?
Mr. Chairman, good to see you.
You as well.
Gentlemen, George Schober representing Hillsdale College. With me is Laban Duke, who is the executive director of the Blake
Center for Faith and Freedom.
Thank you.
It's a bit of a mouthful. I've had more practice.
So we were at zoning on Monday night, and they referred it to you folks. We have a public hearing on April 3rd.
Right.
And the Reader's Digest version, I'll give you that rather than the Encyclopedia Britannica version, which is what the Zoning Commission got, unless you want that version. But the Reader's Digest version is about 3 years ago, Hillsdale College was approved to operate the Blake Center at 732 Hall Hill Road, which is the Monticello building that Presley Blake had built. And there were a number of restrictions that were placed on the usage. And all we're looking for is to revise those restrictions, to modify those restrictions. And I think hopefully everyone received the email that I thought might be helpful.
You guys have a chance to? Okay, you got it.
Yeah.
So, in addition, this may be a little bit simpler than looking through 5 pages of special use permit. This shows the existing restrictions that we're sort of looking to modify. So first, well, let me start with the easiest restriction, which has nothing to do with the seminars, but the Zoning Commission put a restriction of 20 people using the outdoors, the 100 acres out there at any given time. And Hillsdale's been approached by cross-country teams to potentially use the property. There's 3 or 4 miles of trails out there, and it would be a beautiful place to run. And so what we're looking to do is to lift that restriction on the number of people that could be on the property at any one time. To allow for that type of recreation. As it is now, people are allowed to ride their horses, etc. But there's a check-in system. You have a lanyard. There's a list. The facility is all gated. Of course, with 100 acres, you can get on other places. But Laban lives at 708 with his family, 708 Hall Hill Road, and is very active in trying to keep an eye on what's going on. There are also 2 full-time maintenance.
Yeah, 2 full-time, 2 part-time, and a custodian.
So also keeping an eye on the property. But anyway, we wanted to lift that restriction for the college to allow additional people to use the 100 acres. I'm not sure that only one per, every 5 acres is.
It does seem a pretty low density and does not allow the kinds of things you're talking about doing. However, there's a lot of things you can do on 100 acres. There's some room between 20 and infinity that might be a reasonable thing to discuss. I mean, just I don't have a number off the top of my head, but I think that going from what looks like a really kind of tight grasp to becoming completely uninvolved. I mean, I think that I wasn't here when we went through that process, but I'm going to guess that this was in response to some of the public concerns around the facility, and I think you've done an admirable job. I mean, they've said that that they haven't had any complaints, and having lived here for a while, whoever you have who's doing your community relations, you're not paying them enough.
Thank you for that. I'm the one who's been doing that, so I appreciate that.
Because
He'll be sending that tape out
Can
to
that be
Michigan.
recorded in the official
it
minutes?
absolutely, we're on
It'll be in
tape.
the minutes.
Because, I mean, it's virtually unheard of to have anybody operate things around here and not have somebody unhappy with some component of it. So I think that, I mean, I'm not expressing concerns about the quality of how you're running your programs. I'm just looking at something, you know, you're talking about, you know, doing some cross-country teams, or maybe, you know, opening up to public cross-country skiing or something. We'll plug up my own here, but kind of useless at this point, the way the climate's going, but, you know,
Probably
you know,
the single
two-
biggest use.
two 500
might be-
people as opposed to, well, we got 1,000 people here, and you guys said we can have everybody, are kind of two different things.
One of the events that we hosted at the behest of the town was the Rotary Fishing Derby.
Mm-hmm.
And we, you know, technically we broke rules when we did that. Of course, the
But
town asked us to.
with the town's permission, right?
Right, yeah,
Yes, some
exactly.
sort of waiver
But,
system.
I think that's probably a good moment to look at in terms of the numbers there. So around a single pond, there were in excess of 150, probably fewer than 200
Mhm.
people around a single pond. We want to be able to host that going into the future and not be encumbered and
Right.
not have to always have special permission to do that, but we want to be able to
I
host
mean, you've
that.
got some time between now and your public hearing, and I mean, if we
Yeah.
talk about our recommendations, you know, we can craft that in such a way that you have room to play with that between now and then. I mean, I'm not asking you to say, this is my number right now, because you've got
Sure.
some process between here. But, you know, for me, kind of the concern of going from very restrictive to none at all seems like a big step, even though things are going well. Does that make sense?
Well,
I don't know how the rest of the commission feels. I mean, I'm just sort of,
Yeah, I mean, I think as you start off by saying the zoning commission probably put these restrictions, you know, going from 0 was more restriction that was placed on them, not one that they chose.
right.
And I think Brad makes a good point, though, where, you know, I think the events that you've listed here make sense for the community, and Brad's going, yeah, but, you know, unlimited's probably not going to fly at zoning. They're going to want some kind of what's the next step.
Well, I think me as someone from planning, you know, there's a difference between doing something for 200, 500 people, and, you know, you've got 100 acres there, you know, 1,000, 1,500 people showing up.
Which
Yeah.
I think if we were at that level, we'd have to have a mass gathering.
Right. I mean,
anyway.
Right.
But-
anything over 500 would
Right.
require that. But I suppose a larger cross-country meet potentially could have that many people, but again, it would have to be done through a mass gathering permit.
Right.
So I think there is a protection. I'm not certain that legally the town can limit how many people can be on any one property. It can require the mass gathering permit, but I don't think the town can technically put a restriction on that. We went along with that because there were many, many nights of hearings, and we wanted to show the cooperation that the
Right.
college had. I don't know how we ended up with 20, and Laban wasn't there.
Jennifer
I-
doesn't remember either, for that matter.
Nobody can remember how we
Somebody
got to
pulled the number
20.
out of the hat at 2:00 in the morning, and everybody said, yes, go
Yeah.
home. Got it.
That is likely.
Okay.
But, you know, so Hillsdale would like the option. I mean, remember, Laban lives there, his family lives there, his 8 and soon-to-be 9 children live there. It's, you
We're
know,
already at half of the limit that we have.
So we need to lift this limit so you can go to work and bring your family.
That's right. When we go walking, we're just shutting it down. You know?
So, so I mean, we're not looking for any limitation, and common sense is going to dictate that this isn't. Hillsdale College is very concerned about making sure that the neighbors are, and that's evident, I think, given the fact there have been no complaints. And I think it would be very unusual if more than a couple of hundred people were ever out
And it'd
there.
be something where we would be out ahead
And
of
if
it.
you're over 500, you need a special use permit.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, we understand you folks have a recommendation you have to give to zoning, and I'm sure we'll hear at the public hearing from all of the concerned people that, you know, don't like what we're asking for, and you know, hopefully we'll be able to craft, you know, some agreeable
It's helpful to have you, mention it up front, give us something to, come prepared with an answer if it needs to come.
Right, I mean, you've agreed to something that's a little beyond the scope of what we can do to kind of move this forward. Now, I'm not talking baby steps, but I had a boss who I would write reports for, and every now and then he'd say, look, I understand that you can jump over the stream, but for me, I want you to step on the rocks, right? And kind of what I want to do here more for the public at large and, your well-being and your perception and their perception of the process is, maybe do a rock or two to get across the stream to where, you're able to run your facility with just the normal restrictions, right? Does that make sense? I think in my head that kind of serves everyone's best interest. Whether, right? I mean, I think you agreed to that thinking the first time through this process.
Well, the first time through, everybody was trying to avoid litigation. We had many, many nights. There were 8 lawyers involved, and I take it back. There were 9 lawyers involved because one of the neighbors had a lawyer. So we were just trying to reach an agreement.
Right.
But I think the track record of 2 years of full operation pretty much speaks for itself here. And I can, but we can appreciate
and
the
I mean,
concerns.
but in your own
want it
documents,
turning
you had
into-
mentioned that you were looking for an extension on one of the other event sort of things because a couple of those 2 years were pretty calm and quiet in terms of the ideas of people having any kind of gathering at all. So, you sort of had 2 years in this bubble.
We did.
Right. I mean,
To an
I
extent.
think that was probably not as as bad for you as it was for everybody else. I mean, you're starting up something new, and it's something that involves having people there.
Yeah, well, I mean, this past year we've had 12 events,
Mhm.
so we've fulfilled, a lot of the standard use restrictions that we have. We've been able to
Okay.
live within those, but use them. Now, I think the way that we're able to operate the programs is proven to be quiet in the
Mhm.
neighborhood. In fact, most of the time, I have to tell neighbors, hey, we're going to have a program. Otherwise, I don't think they would have noticed. And that's just a function of having a parking lot that's well out of view and
Mhm.
event logistics that make it such that it's virtually no impact on the road or in the community in a negative sense. Outside of somebody having the opportunity to attend,
Right.
we're not out back having a kegger with loud music. It's just not how we do things.
What can the parking lot handle?
It's 32 right now. Our original request was for a 90 car. That was reduced to 60, then reduced to 32. Obviously, we could, we could.
As you expand.
If we were allowed to build a bigger parking lot, we could.
If for the 160 people or so for the fishing derby, where did
Now
they
that,
park at?
I mean, that was a part of.
Parked a few people on the lawn, hope for dry weather.
We parked them up the driveway where we could, and then people just started to park wherever they felt like. So, I mean, obviously for this year, we're going to move a lot of that parking behind 700 Hall Hill Road, and we'll have everybody better trained. It was the biggest attendance at the fishing derby that the town has ever had, so we didn't exactly expect that, given that it was supposed to be a downpour, but a lot of people showed up, and we would expect good attendance numbers this year. So we'll change the parking logistics so that they're not on the lawn, and then we'll increase our volunteers to make sure that doesn't happen. But it certainly wouldn't hurt to have a bigger parking lot. And of course, I'm wanting to make sure that whatever restrictions, if there are any in place, I want to make sure that we can still host these things in the free and clear and be able to work with those organizations to do so. I don't have any investment in having a raucous, 1,000-person, blowout in my backyard. It's just not going to happen. And of course, we'd be limited on that anyways if we went over 500 people. But my oldest kids are, 12-year-old, 11-year-old girls. I don't exactly want a whole bunch of just anybody out in my backyard.
Right.
So.
Don't understand that.
And it is just the one, we're not looking to increase the number of large events. In other words, everything we're asking for, still the limit would be 75 people, except for the 1-year extension on the gala, sort of gala grand opening celebration. And that actually expires August 2nd, and the tentative date is August 11th,
Right.
presuming all the speakers can be lined up. And that'll be done in conjunction with the town. The town will be, the zoning commission will be fully aware of what's happening. So the land use.
So you're holding 75 as a workable number for you for most groups.
And if you look at the list there, we've got different types of events at different levels.
Right.
What I've found in practice is it seems like an arbitrary restriction on certain types of events that would have me essentially go, well, we've already used up our 2-day event, so I guess it needs to be a 3-day event. It seems a little silly rather than focusing on the real. Sorry, go ahead.
No, having not been in part of that initial process, I'm sure there was some give and take around that, but I think,
It's basically, Hillsdale put together what it thought it needed at the time.
Right.
And and the zoning commission said, okay, this seems reasonable. And now it's changed. Basically, what Laban's run some conferences or tried to that weren't well attended, or
not everything that we've tried has worked, and we're still in a sort of experimentation mode, trying to figure out what people in this area, what kind of speakers they like to hear, what kind of topics interest them. So wanting to experiment makes it tough if you're like, well, we're only allowed so many 3 days, so many 2-day, and it's like some are 30, some are 50, some are 75. When I know we can actually run all at 75 and screen all the cars from you, and no one's the wiser. And so rather than asking for forgiveness for going over the 30, I think we would much prefer just to have permission up front to go up to the working maximum that the parking lot will hold and that we can comfortably host inside. And for what it's worth, inside of Monticello, 10,000 square feet, big facility, but the largest single room only comfortably holds 75. So right now I wouldn't even want to host more than that because I'd be packing them in like sardines, and that's not really how we want to do things.
no, I mean, I understand that having, you can have X number of 1 day and X number of 2 days. Sounds in my head a little intrusive into most businesses that operate here. So I understand your concerns with that, frankly. I don't know what the mind of the rest of the commission is on those kinds of issues.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's stated pretty well here in the revised note that we got from Dan, that given lack of disruption, whether it's 20, 30, 40, 50, you think that's 75, it's, if nobody complained, it seems like let's just go to the 75 and,
Put them to the max use of the place.
and again, I think to his point, he's having to go, well, I went over and I hit that, now it's a 2, now it's a 3 day, now it's a this, and just, it seems kind of silly a little bit.
He does have the right to the highest and best use of his land. I mean, that's a right.
Yeah, I think, if we go back, it seemed like these conditions were kind of let's see how this goes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's gone fine.
It's gone well.
Right.
And so let's just go ahead and say, 75 seems like a reasonable ask.
There's a provision, by the way, in the new zoning regulations where a special use permit can be revoked if people do not live up to what they should be doing, if a nuisance develops, et cetera. And so there is a sort of a check on if things were to get out of hand.
So when he does the 3-day CAGR to invite everybody in, then
right.
Then I get slammed on the wrist like I deserve
Right.
in that case.
So there is that.
And also, hell will have frozen over, and so on and so forth.
well, the name of your group doesn't kind of imply the existence of, but not every name is.
Sure.
So then one of the other things we were looking for is, right now there's no provision, but there's no prohibition either on charitable groups using the facility. So for instance, the library has approached Hillsdale about, they're putting together a tour of some of the houses in town, and they've asked to have Monticello be on that tour. It's a fundraiser. And so we think that that's okay, but what we'd like to do is, the Rotary occasionally would like to have a meeting there. I guess they wanted to have
What
blood
happened
drives.
was this past year, the Rotary approached me and said we'd like to host a benefit concert for the Connecticut Burn Care Foundation. We want to use Monticello as a location. I said yes because I didn't notice that the restrictions were specific to only our events could fit under that umbrella. So I thought we were okay to proceed with it. Got a call from Jennifer, and she said, "Hey, listen, you're not like in a huge amount of trouble, but you need to understand you can't host outside groups in this way." And so I said, "Well, at some point in the coming year, we'd like to revisit this, because I think we could be a benefit to the community when we do these things. And so the Summers Library is a good example. They want to come and have a fundraiser. It'll be throughout the day, through a 5-hour span. Probably we'll have no more than, 50, 60 people in the facility at any given moment, but help them raise some funds for that. And right now our restrictions don't specifically say we can't have outside groups, but the zoning enforcement officer's read is that what it doesn't say, it doesn't allow.
Yeah, our zoning regs say if it's not specifically permitted, it's not allowed, and I think that kind of gets expanded sometimes. Your examples are like, in-town, private, nonprofit, community groups, which is kind of different than, it's a beautiful wedding venue, we'd like to do that in the reception there, and I mean, you're charging a fee for ground use and things like that. How is this crafted to keep this from becoming more of a venue than a school?
Yeah, and
Charitable,
weddings,
right?
right, and we're asking specifically for charitable events.
Okay.
I think weddings would be a completely different,
I'm not saying you can't have weddings, but the reception and all the,
Right.
other surroundings. I realize you're a religious institution, you may do marriages, but
Yeah. On the main campus, there are more weddings held in the chapel there just because undergraduate students are there. We don't have students in residence, so it's a different ballgame. There are quite a few weddings that happen at that chapel, but we don't have any plans to have any in the year. I don't have.
I mean,
any.
I'm not challenging the religious use of
Sure.
the grounds. I'm challenging the sort of surrounding party use of the outside space, doing the wedding reception combination there, sort of thing. And the private nonprofit thing, I think, this town survives on, our corporate and domestic citizens working together to, do these charitable things and make things happen in town. I mean, and I think it's great that you guys want to be a part of that. I think we would.
I don't think the way your changes read would allow for
Yeah, we're
wedding
not asking
receptions and things
Okay.
like that.
for that.
Okay.
No, it's strictly charitable use. It's not a fundraiser. It's not a profit-making venture for Hillsdale. It's to allow outside groups, local groups that wish to, that Hillsdale
there's-
feels it can work with.
There's a local classic education group that would like to host a mock trial on our grounds. That's another example. We've had the Johnson Memorial Hospital would like to host a fundraiser there. I'd like to be able to tell Stu Rosenberg, yes, absolutely, because the Blakes just completed a $10 million gift to, put a new wing on their facility in Enfield. So that if and here we have the Blake name at the front of our facility, if that's something that matters to them, I think it makes a lot of sense that we would be supported. I think that benefits the area,
I don't have any issues with any of these requests.
I don't either, so
Make a motion to send this request for modification for special use permit for Hillsdale College back to zoning with a positive referral.
second.
Motion a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you,
Wonderful.
gentlemen.
Thank you, gentlemen. Yeah,
you.
thank you. Have a good evening.
Nice to meet
You
you.
too.
As well.
Moving on, notice of division or reconfiguration of land, 41 Wood Road.
Recuse myself.
Okay.
You're up, Jay. I think we're gonna have a problem because we're not gonna be able to get a quorum here to vote.
That's true. If he recuses himself, does
Oh,
this
that's
count as a
right.
body?
Adam can't vote on this.
If he's present but not voting, he's still present.
He's still
just
present.
not voting. So we
Right.
have a quorum, but he can't speak or vote on the topic. Is
Right.
that big?
I don't think there is a vote on this. I think they're just giving you notice that they're doing it.
I think that's true.
Okay.
I don't think this requires
we
an
don't
approval.
require-
All right. Since we're not approving at this point,
I think it's really
I
just
think we can deal with the present and not
Yep.
voting.
a notice
Okay.
of a reconfiguration
Okay.
of a property. So
We have too many tables here.
let me push this over a little bit. I added some color to it because I think it makes it a little clearer.
It helps me a lot.
Well, it was helping me. Color makes it easier.
Existing.
Right?
Close.
Yeah, so what it is, there's two parcels of land here. There's 41 Wood Road and there's 47 Wood Road.
Okay,
And 47 is this little rectangle right here.
okay,
It's a piece of land that's been landlocked, it's now in common ownership. It wasn't for a long, long time. It had a right-of-way to it. And it's about 5 acres, 4.9 acres.
okay.
So the existing condition here essentially is, what I've got marked in green is the large piece, which comes all the way up. And there's a match mark here, goes all the way up, comes back around, comes around this, and comes back down to the road.
And this sits in the middle of
And that's
soil.
exactly, our little orange piece, the 4.9, sits right in the middle of it. So it's a 35.8 acres and a 4.9 acres. And it's 47 and 41. So basically, what Adam is doing
And none of them hit a
here-
road.
Wood Road does, down here.
This one hits a road.
Yeah,
This
this
is the
does
only
not.
piece, this does not, does this hit a
No.
road? This is contiguous of this.
Yes.
Okay.
Right now it is.
All
Yep.
right.
You want to cut this all out?
So the reconfiguration would involve essentially kind of splitting it in two. This would become a lot line. 41 would become what we're showing in pink here, which is this.
Okay.
And it would consist of 19.4 acres, and then the rear piece, instead of being 4.9, now becomes 21.3 at the 47 address.
Where is this on a road?
So it's not.
What about
You
this
can't
piece
get
here?
to this without coming through.
Correct.
Right.
So
So
you,
it had no frontage before, still has no frontage.
okay,
Yeah,
but
this piece
can we
has no
legally
frontage,
create a
right?
lot
So
with
you're
that? I
just-
mean, can we do a, I'm not sure we can do that. I'd have to explore
We'll have
the
to look at
regs of
that
it, but
one.
I don't think you can create a landlocked lot.
But if
And-
it's already
It's already
landlocked,
landlocked.
it's already
Already
landlocked.
landlocked.
It was already created before.
Right, we're not changing the fact that it's landlocked. It's been landlocked before.
You're
It's
just
still-
making-
You're
You're
just
just making it a
you're
bigger
merging.
landlocked.
You're
We're,
merging. a
we're
land-
making a bigger problem. I mean, it's your problem, but it's,
I mean, I think that the thing really to look at here is that now it's all under common ownership, which before it wasn't. This was a separate parcel, kind of sitting out there in the
Right.
island. And it no
Really?
longer is.
That was somebody else owned this.
Yes,
I mean,
So you purchased this.
yes.
if I was looking this as developing and trying to put the road into a farm road or something and come up and get a couple of lots in here, I might do this all as one property rather than two, but that's up to you. I'm then
A lot of the rear part here
Build-
is really not developable.
building the
A lot of
land,
it's
I
wet.
mean, I'm,
Wetlands and flood zone. The developable part
Right.
is up here, up in the front. So it's really just a matter of still have a landlocked parcel, 2 pieces when we start, still have 2 pieces. This one's a little bit bigger, this one's a little bit smaller.
I mean, as long as we can, I'm not sure we're not creating a landlocked property, we're creating a bigger landlocked property.
Yes.
But we are taking action on something that creates something that's outside of the zoning, or outside of the planning specs. Right, I mean, we're creating a lot that's a non-conforming lot. When we expand, or we're expanding
making it a
this
bigger
lot.
lot.
We're
Yeah,
expanding
you're
that
just
lot,
making
we're
it
making
bigger.
a bigger
Making
lot.
it
So we're
bigger.
expanding a lot, not creating a lot. This one makes my head hurt. Probably more than it should, because it kind of winds up with, you've got a bigger landlocked piece than you had before. We're not really changing
Yeah.
where you are,
No.
right?
Yeah, you just
I mean,
Currently has no frontage and still will have no.
still won't
frontage.
have any.
okay.
Looks good to me.
So this is what you're proposing.
Correct.
Right. And this isn't a subdivision because there's no new lot.
No,
Nothing,
because
no
you're,
lots
you're,
created,
yeah,
no
you're
lots-
you're merging a lot.
Right, no lots created, no lots destroyed. We have 2 lots, we have 2 lots when we're
Start with
done.
2, we end with 2.
Right,
Right, yes,
Right.
yeah, it's true, yep.
right, so we're not making or taking away a
Nope.
lot, we're just reconfiguring the lot, so it's a reconfiguration, not really a subdivision.
Right,
So we're not creating a non-conforming lot, we're just making the existing non-conforming lot
Bigger.
different. Okay,
yep.
so I think we can do it.
Yeah.
And that's got plenty of frontage. And
200,
Right.
3 point,
Right.
Yeah, you only
And
need
if
to
that's
get
already
one of the
existing,
glasses
no,
up
that's
to
fine, it's
the-
200 and
You only
something.
need the
And we're not really
175.
interested in that piece anyway, because we're
Right.
not doing anything to it.
I'm not
Right.
changing it.
Okay. All right. Did staff encounter any problems with this process that
Nope.
we haven't
Nope.
hammered out? Okay. And since this is not a subdivision, we wouldn't need to do anything. I mean,
No, you don't need to do
why
anything.
can't we approve it?
We can. I don't see why we can't.
As chair, can I second the motion?
Yeah.
Okay.
Motion for approval of reconfiguration. What is,
Reconfiguration of land, 41 Wood Road, and whatever the other parcel,
47.
41 and 47.
41 and 47.
Okay, I have a motion, I have a second, I will make the second.
Bless you.
Bless you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
I'll leave the color with you, Dan.
All right, thanks. I'll put it.
We'll get you a Mylar.
Okay.
And then there's a couple of more copies in there for you.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. I got way too excited about that one, I'm sorry.
It happens, it's okay.
Okay, Jay, next.
Okay, re-subdivision application PL number 23-001-278 Georgewood Road.
Okay. This is Georgewood Road, basically right at the Enfield town line. The town line is here.
Yep.
Enfield to the west. We're located here. This is Sam Meadow Road here. And what we're doing is creating one new lot.
Is this the old farm?
That's the old farm.
Okay.
Yep, exactly. This portion right here is a corn lot. Actually, some of it goes right into Enfield. So what's there now is essentially Grandpa's piece here, which is the large farm lot.
Yeah.
The father's house came out here back in the 80s, and now this grandson is going to build here, which will be this lot. The house will be back here. The frontage is up there on Georgewood.
Yeah.
To get us our 175, still all in Summers. And the house is going to go back here, which is shown on the next page.
So it's going into the farm. Really,
Yeah,
right?
a little bit. Yep. So this is where the house is going to go back here. The driveway comes in, septic system's here, and
Where's the farm, the ranch? Is that,
right here.
the ranch is right
Yeah,
there?
right there.
How long is that drive?
Let's see. 250 to get us to here. Yeah, probably 350 feet, somewhere thereabouts.
How long is it before a fire wants to turn out?
I'd have to look that one up. I gotta look that up.
I think it's longer than that,
Fire
but
Is it like 500
Big
feet?
turnaround.
yes.
Yeah.
Because once you get to a certain distance, they like to be able to bring water in and have trucks coming out to get them more water. I know. I actually have hydrants right here, don't you?
There's water here. There's a hydrant.
There's a hydrant here.
Right at the
There's
corner.
two hydrants, one at each town.
There's a hydrant right at the corner of the driveway,
Yeah.
right where this house is.
Okay.
In fact, we had to kind of move the driveway a little bit to get around it. So yeah, there is this
Okay.
city water here.
I mean, check on that just in case, but I think with a hydrant at the end of the driveway, they'll probably be okay with that. Don't want to speak for them, but,
Right, I'll check on that.
right. Okay, and you were showing us the septic in the,
Yep, so the house and the septic to the rear, which is here, house goes here, leach field's here, and the water service comes up the side of the driveway,
Yeah.
comes into the front of the house.
you got a
And then the
reserve?
remainder of the land is going to stay in agriculture.
Okay, you have a leach field there and a reserve there.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
all right.
Yep.
And you're on town water?
We'll be on the city water.
on city
yeah,
water.
They're required, actually.
Right, yeah.
Required At the frontage.
Yep.
Don't
Yeah.
have any choice.
Right.
No. Yeah, you're within that
Yeah.
footage.
Yep.
So you
Okay.
couldn't put a well if you wanted to.
You would have to go to the state health department
For a
and ask
waiver.
for an exception to be able to put in a well. And you would need the support from the local health agent here, which would be Andrea, to do that.
Gotcha.
We've done it a couple times.
Pain.
Yeah, they don't like it.
No,
The
because,
water company's not gonna
no,
like it.
they're
No.
not real happy with that.
They're not gonna like it. This one isn't that long. I don't see why they wouldn't want the city water.
But when the power goes out, you still have water. That's always a
Yes.
nice thing.
Yes.
You don't have to run out and hook up the generator to fill
Is
the
that
toilet.
What's wetlands did mine to fill?
We had to get a variance to move the driveway over, believe it or not.
Oh, that's right.
Because-
Oh, okay, so there's like, that's what this little jog here?
Yeah,
Gotcha.
because the regulation, the zoning regulation says the driveway has to be 10 feet from the property line.
Yep.
So when we did that, it conflicted with the fire hydrant, so we moved the driveway to the west side of the fire hydrant, which created about 3,000 square feet of wetland fill, which Joanna wasn't in love with. Our wetland scientist didn't think it was such a bad thing, because it's just a corn lot. I mean, it's disturbed every year anyway.
Mhm.
But she did not like it at all, so we went to ZBA, and they did create a variance to slide it closer, and now we're only 3 feet off the property line. There's still wetland disturbance, but it's much
And
less.
strangely enough, the abutters didn't have a problem with that, huh?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
they seem to be okay with it.
Oh, yeah.
And it's cheaper to move the driveway than move a fire hydrant.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
yeah.
don't want to move the fire hydrant.
No.
No, somebody brought that up, I said, no, we don't want to do that.
No, because then you got to move it in the wetlands. It's going to make it even worse.
Yeah, it's,
So
Okay,
there is.
just check, I just wanted to check, not our problem.
Yeah, so we do have a variance, and we also have a wetland approval, we have a wetland permit.
All righty.
Okay.
So we're going to have to, because it's a re-subdivision, we're going to do a legal notice,
Okay.
Yes.
public hearing.
Public hearing.
Joy.
Yeah, and again, I don't think the neighbors are gonna come and oppose it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I have a motion to schedule the public hearing?
Motion for public hearing, re-subdivision, application PL number 23-001278, Georgewood Road.
Can you wait till our next meeting, or do we need to schedule a special? It'd be
No,
some building
no, we can wait.
You've got going on.
April
Okay.
13th.
April 13th. Great.
Is there a second? Yeah.
Okay, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Great. All right. No, it's just every now and then you got somebody who's got, the scoop idling in the driveway waiting for us to.
No, I don't think that's the case
Okay.
here.
All right. Next order of business, subdivision plan application number 23-002, Turnpike Road and Main Street subdivision.
Yeah, that's the one underneath that.
Is it under there?
Yep. I brought them all down.
Did you bring them both?
Okay. So this is a subdivision.
Nobody's taking a pass on this one, right?
No, I don't think so. No neighbors here, no owners next door.
Well, enjoying this
I'm
conversation.
down the street.
Yeah, you're a little,
You're on this
well,
one?
you're a ways away.
Well, I'm on Deerfield right now, so
Oh, are you?
I'm down the corner, don't know.
So this is basically on the corner of Turnpike and Main Street. You guys have all been in town a long time, so you've known it as, there was a horse farm there. And owned by the Trapp family for a long, long time. Beautiful place in its day, although it had kind of gone into disrepair, and the Trapps are gone. They sold it. Two fellas bought it, DNS Development, with the plan to subdivide it. So what it involves essentially is all frontage lots, and the thing's about 30 some odd acres in total. Let me just flip this. 24. Yeah, it's just over 30 acres, total lot area. So what we're looking at is
three frontage lots here on Turnpike. The corner was a free cut, it's already under construction, so we were allowed one free split on this, which I think the foundation went in there last week. So there's a house going there. So we got 3 frontage lots here, another frontage lot here on Main, and then the large lot, again, a frontage lot on Main with the 24 acres here on the back. These lots, the free cut, this lot, and the big lot are all going to be served by basically what's the existing driveway or an expansion of the existing driveway to become a right-of-way and shared. And the reason for that is that over here on Main Street on 190,
You don't want to come out.
no, you do not. There's a couple of reasons, really. First of all, as you look at this property from
It goes up.
it goes straight up. And even if it weren't, I don't think you'd want a driveway there because, as we all know, when you pull out of Turnpike Road and whether you're going to cross 190 or go either way, the cars are coming down the hill at, I don't know, sometimes I think over 60 miles an hour. It's just, it's not a good intersection.
Gravity's a wonderful thing.
Yeah. So we decided it wasn't a good idea to even think about putting driveways out here onto Main Street. So we're going to share an access 1, 2, and 3 to get in.
Now, is
and out
that going to
there.
become a road, or is that a shared drive?
It's a shared driveway.
It's a 50-foot easement, right?
50-foot
Yeah.
right away, and it'll be shared by those 3 lots. We've done it before, and some of you may have seen them. There's a similar situation at Cooksville that Dan Rillier did that we worked on, where we've got some shared driveways. But the one that's probably even more similar to this is Partridge Run, which Dan Rillier built back in the, I'm stretching my memory here, 80s and 90s, I think. And when you go down the main road into Partridge Run and you go straight into the subdivision, when you get to the first intersection, there's a 4-way intersection. Just as you go by that, if you've ever been in there, there's a brook on the right-hand side of the road that basically follows the road all the way down. And there's, I think, 4 lots or maybe 5 lots where we didn't want to cross the brook with all these individual driveways, nor did the Wetland Commission want us to cross the brook with all those individual driveways. So we brought a driveway in from the back off of the other street to serve all of those lots with a right-of-way similar to this. And I think there's either 4 or 5 lots that are all served by a common driveway. They all have the full frontage on town road, which these do as well, but they share the driveway basically due to accessibility issues. In that case was a brook, in this case steep slopes and traffic at speeds where you really don't want to be pulling out into the road. So that's the reason for that. They're all on septic and wells. There's a little bit of wetlands over here in the very back, although we're not proposing any houses over there. But statutorily, we had to submit to the Wetland Commission, which we did, and they have it. These are the house locations, essentially. So starting down in Turnpike, the north, there's a house closer to the front, house here, house here. That's the corner house under construction, a house here, and then this is a match mark. This slides over. And to kind of orientate yourself here, there's a stone wall that comes up through here, and this is an existing, I'm going to call it kind of a farm road, that comes up and comes right out of here and came up into this field. There's an area up in here. It's essentially, it was an open field. There's no trees here. She must have had the horses up there, I guess. I'm not sure. But we've got this house kind of tucked right into the wood line a little bit here, right where this open field area is. And this area is about 900 feet to that back line where the wetland is. So it's a long ways away. But we did have to go to the Wetland Commission, and they have an application that's sitting there.
Okay.
Which you will be getting I'm going to call it, as the statute calls it, a report from the Wetland Commission indicating what their findings may be.
when it's time for you to take action.
We look forward to the report. How long is this? This is about 800, 900 feet?
That's a good question. Let me go back here. Let's see.
I'd like to run that one by fire department too.
Yep.
Because you got 3 houses out there.
Wonder if it's
You know, if you're gonna-
Probably
if you're gonna be
to
dropping-
get into the last
dropping
lot,
the
it's
big
about
swimming pools and
easier
shit, you
to-
know.
it's about 550 feet to where it enters
Okay.
the big lot.
Okay. And then some
So that's-
extension from there to the
that's
house.
right?
And we're at, I
But
think
you
we're
got-
at 18 feet wide with the driveway.
Which, yeah, which is.
So there's room for
supposed to be-
passing.
Yes.
You can have two-way traffic on that.
That was the, well, I think we did 18 in Partridge Run, but Summers doesn't have an interior or rear lot regulation. Every other town around here does. And in the rear lot regulations in South Windsor, I've got one there now, I've done, I don't even know how many in East Windsor, Suffield. They typically require what they call 18 feet clear, okay? It's not an 18-foot wide driveway. Typically, our driveway would be 12 to 15 feet, but they want 18 feet clear so that an emergency vehicle doesn't have any issue
Right.
with getting up in there.
Yeah, that's kind of my
There-
concern. with
There's no,
whenever you're kind of
overhanging
doing this long,
trees or
narrow-
bushes or limbs
Right.
or anything of that nature. In this case, our actual pavement is 18 feet wide.
But it does cut down on whether or not people keep it up.
Yes. Yep. Yep, that's true.
There's no issues with the
Pump.
septic pumped
It's
up?
pumped, yeah.
Yep. Very, very
to say.
strange piece of property in that when we were doing the soil testing here, these two lots on this side of the driveway, we were doing test holes, and it was some of the rockiest stuff you had ever seen, which you would have expected up there on the hill.
Mhm.
It's, boulders, and I mean, it was really rocky, and I think, oh, this is gonna be a nightmare, we're gonna get through all the rest of these lots. We did the other 4 lots, we went over to this side of the driveway, can't find a rock. It's all sand, as deep as you could dig, it's nothing but sand, and it's like, this doesn't make any sense, but I looked at the NRCS and looked at the soil survey, and that's kind of what it shows, but it's just really, really strange. We dug 7, 8 feet on some of these other lots, and it's nothing but sand, as deep as you can go, and there is not a pebble, nothing. Beautiful sand.
It's a good thing.
It's
Yeah.
wonderful, but it was just.
So you're not gonna
it's what
bank
you
it out
want.
before you build?
Oh, I was thinking of it when we were digging, I said, this would make a great gravel pit, but I'm sure that wouldn't go over good.
Oh, we built an apple orchard that way, if I remember correctly.
We did that, yes. You're talking about Bordeaux.
Yeah,
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's
that,
gone
sadly,
into-
yeah, that's,
too bad after
it really is.
Cliff passed away and we planted all those dwarf trees and,
You had quite an operation going there for a little bit.
yeah.
Any other questions from the commission? Chris? No? Okay. So, this is a subdivision.
You don't need,
Don't need a public hearing?
don't need a public hearing.
Okay. Do we want to make a motion? Do we want to make a motion contingent on the fire department liking the long driveway thing? They've talked about that before.
Yeah, you can do that if you want.
Contingent upon
Make a condition of
review
approval.
by the fire department and an affirmative report from the wetlands. That way, you don't have to come visit us again, as long as those things are both okay.
That'd be wonderful, but I think,
Is there a further,
I think statutorily,
I'll have to look.
you can only accept this tonight, and even though it's, it's not a public hearing, I don't think you can take action on it tonight.
I'd
I
have to
think you
look.
to
Yeah, this is my
review it.
Well,
first subdivision.
well,
so
then
I-
let's, if we can't, let's not.
Okay.
I don't think you can.
You can do
Okay,
whatever.
then we won't.
John would know better than I. but
I agree with him.
I think
Okay.
I think you have to accept
Accept the application, place it on your
I'm
next
sorry, you guys have been here
agenda.
with this piece of property so many times, it's like I figured we're somewhere down the road on this.
No, we're.
Right,
we
we're,
were
we're
just
at,
playing
we're at
around
step
with
one,
the-
right.
Yeah, you had the other
Yes,
ones where we did
edges.
reconfigs on the front
Yeah, this
section
is.
there.
this
Sorry,
is-
I got out ahead of myself.
That's okay. I mean, it'd be a wonderful thing, but probably if somewhere down the road somebody decided they wanted to appeal,
Yeah,
that would be in
no,
trouble.
that-
So.
Yeah, so
Right.
I can check with
Let's
the
do it
fire
right.
department and the wet, and we
Yeah.
should have wetlands by then, right?
There's
Maybe.
another wetland meeting before then, so I'm
Yeah.
hopeful that we'll have that all set.
Okay.
And if you can talk to the fire chief
I can send it to him.
and let him take a look at it, and then we can see you with this
Motion to accept
and
the
with
application.
Eastwood
Yep, next month.
in a month.
Okay,
Do we have any open space? Well, we can talk about next one.
Oh, that's
Oh,
right, you're
yes.
gonna need open space
right.
on that, so you'll have to get an appraisal.
Yeah, that doesn't,
So,
abut-
so do
that
we
doesn't-
need,
Or is there enough set aside because it's such a large piece?
Well, it doesn't abut, I mean, if this abutted,
It's too far away from the state forest,
right,
or any trails over
doesn't,
there.
if it touched like, there's a bunch of land back there that's owned by the land trust, by
Right.
the town of Summers,
But
by
it's
the
farther
forest.
away.
And if he abutted that, we could
And
have a
this is all
conversation about whether or not we
abutted
would take land in lieu of
private-
open space,
all
but,
private ownership?
right,
So
so
I did look at that.
Yeah, we did too when we
That
first
really
started,
create
because to be
landlocking a
honest,
piece of, open space doesn't do the community any good.
if there was
so
a
we would
piece
take
they
the
could have
fee in lieu of-
donated, I think they'd rather do that than pay the fee, but there
Right.
really isn't
Most people
anything
would.
that makes any sense, I don't think.
Yep.
So
And
the
our open
appraiser,
space fund.
does the town have a list of approved appraisers, or how does that work? Some do, or
I'm
do
gonna have to
we?
look into that.
Okay.
This is my first subdivision, so.
We'll get through it. I'll stop trying to break the law, you research the stuff, we'll be good.
Motion to accept subdivision application PL 23-002 Turnpike Road and Main Street, 5 lots, subdivision.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.
This is the Mylar for the reconfiguration that was involved in this, that John
Okay.
Parks presented
Yes,
to
I've
you?
been
Last month.
that we needed.
Right, so
Okay.
I brought.
Oh, good,
that
sometimes
along.
it's good.
So he can sign that too.
Yeah, we figured we could get a lot of business done tonight.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
gentlemen.
you.
Okay, approval of minutes.
Appreciate it.
Small grammatical thing. In the last paragraph, third sentence, Al spoke about the gates. It says poke. And S.
Oh, okay.
So minor, but
Can you, let me make that change on that so I,
Oops,
oops, or just,
really good handout there. Here you go.
spell check, didn't check that one.
well, it's the correct. Well, poke is a correct word.
That's right.
That's what we're looking for there. So motion to approve minutes with noted changes.
Amendments, yep.
Okay, we have a motion, do I have a second?
I wasn't here, so can I say I can't second it, right? Or I can.
You can because you can read them.
Yeah. No.
Well, I'll second it.
Well,
Okay.
of course, you watched the replay online.
That's
You couldn't attend live.
second.
Second, okay, I have a motion, I have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? Abstentions?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
What time is it?
7:23.
Well, you did pretty good.
Busy.
Jim, you did first, right?
Yeah.